Hello, everyone. Welcome to Green Card Guys TV. Today we have a special guest, one of our premier associates, Ariana Fuentes. The past couple times, she has some insights to share, and this is especially important now with President Donald J. Trump is in office. He will be starting taking the oath on January 20th. And as many of you know, there's a long list of things that they will likely implement. So let's bring on Ariana.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Ariana, we were just discussing a moment ago this long list, but we just have a few to share for today's show.
Yeah, and so this is information that we're getting from the Project 2025, which I know Trump has said he doesn't have anything to do with, but all of the people that he's selecting for his cabinet are the people that wrote it. So we think it gives us a pretty good roadmap. And so the first thing that I want to mention that's on there is I think a lot of people feel relatively safe if they've already had their citizenship, if they've already had a green card, but they're actually going to push something called a denaturalization unit, which basically means they're going to look through people's files, they're going to look through cases, and they're going to look for any irregularities that will actually cause people to lose their citizenship. So that's one of the things that they're going to focus on is not only people who are just applying and barely trying to get their status, but also people that already have their status, make sure that they did not get it through fraud, that there wasn't any irregularities. And so even if people already have status, it's something that they should watch out for and be sure that everything was on the up and up.
Thank you for sharing that, Ariana. We've had a couple people share their situation. They may or may not have status currently, and they want to take that next step to become a citizen. So I will just say this is alleged for social media purposes. This alleged person may have input incorrect information or failed to disclose information that they should have disclosed on prior applications. So, Ariana, our stance as a law firm is that if that happens, we don't recommend to file for naturalization, whether or not it's President Trump, but even more so because they're not going to scot on right by.
For sure. Yeah. If that's the case and it's something that, you're worried about, it's definitely something to consider because I do think that they're going to have those units in overdrive. They already exist, but it's super, super rare for someone to get denaturalized. And I think we might be looking at it to be a lot more commonplace.
That's right. And I believe they're going to staff it more, have more personnel in certain departments, including even like site visits to someone's home or apartment or house. But, one added item about the example I was sharing at the hypothetical
Mhm.
is that some of these people, prior applicants, may have relied on advice from typically a non-lawyer in this kind of situation. Fortunately, have not heard a lawyer tell people that they should not disclose something, especially family members. And so anytime we get a story like this, usually they relied on some kind of immigration consultant, which I don't believe that's an official title. So anyone that's listening to this, please take some caution. Just like in the financial industry, if you're about to do a wire transfer, you should call the broker or whichever title company who's supposed to receive it. So in the immigration world, please do something similar and speak to a licensed immigration attorney before filing application. Now, of course, most immigration attorneys we know, they typically require you to hire them before filing application. But yes, Ariana, we have a second item we'd like to share. Can you mention that one?
Yeah, so another thing we want to mention is TPS. TPS is a designation that each administration gives to certain countries so that the person can have temporary status here in the United States. This is something that they could do fairly quickly. And so they want to repeal TPS for all countries. We're not sure if that's actually going to happen, but it's definitely a risk. So I would say if you have TPS and you have maybe the possibility of another status and you've been waiting, this is going to be a great time to do that transition because TPS may be at risk.
Right, and the Trump administration first term, they tried that,
Hmm.
right? So they tried that. It didn't work the way they wanted it to, but they've definitely learned some things over the past few years. So it's definitely a concern because Aria, do you know the definition of TPS? Well, essentially, it's in the name, right? It's intended to
Hmm.
be temporary.
Right.
And through natural disaster or some kind of war. Many of the countries on the list may have something still going on in their country. But if it was originally for natural disaster, it could be a hard, difficult argument
Hmm.
to keep TPS for that specific country. So on that note, Ariana, we've had some people call in, have a meeting with us, with our team, and some people are eligible to actually adjust status, but for whichever reason, they tend to delay. Please know, everyone that's watching this, if you are eligible to apply for a benefit such as an adjustment of status, aka green card, resident status, you really need to seriously consider taking action.
For sure. That would be the biggest recommendation is do not wait. We have a couple months left in this administration. It's possible that you're going to be able to go through with the current rules if you file now, depending on sort of what they change. So it's really, really critical that if you have the possibility, this is a great time to do it. If you've been waiting, like John said, for whatever reason, this is the time. They're going to get a lot tougher. They're going to do a lot more interviews. They're going to do a lot more thorough reviews. So the time is now.
Good point, Ariana, that people, in terms of like policies, the timing of the application, certain policies, no, the one that seems to be common that the policies have changed quite often from pandemic 2020 until maybe 3 years, 1 year ago, is the medical exam.
Mhm.
And so it probably changed at least twice. And currently, as of the time of this recording, there's no there's no restriction in terms of timing when to obtain the exam. But who knows? With the new administration, the timing of when you apply is the timing of the policy set in stone at that time. If you think, oh, I can apply later, Trump's not going to do anything, new president's not going to do anything. Well, in general, he will do something. But yes, even if it wasn't him, a new administration, we've seen a lot of changes. So I think I worked through several presidents now, at least with starting with President Obama, and even that time wasn't the greatest as everyone thought, but there was many positives, unlike Trump, of course. Now, Ariana, there's at least two more I believe we have on the list for today's audience.
Yeah, and I think we just mentioned it a little bit. So, what they're looking to do is do 100% of interviews for all cases that would normally require an interview. With a pandemic, and even up till now, we've seen, especially USCIS, waive a ton of interviews. We've been able to get people their status within months because they didn't have an interview and they were able to waive an interview. It's also very stressful. There's a lot more preparation that goes into going into an interview. You have to know sort of which questions that they're going to ask, which, if you work with an attorney, that's something that we're able to help with. But if they're looking to do 100% interview requirements for all appropriate cases, it's going to, one, significantly delay the process, and two, it just makes it for a much tougher, harder preparation. So again, if you have that possibility now and you're able to do it, I would say do it as soon as possible.
Absolutely, Ariana. And, fortunately with our team, we have certain workflow steps that most lawyers don't talk about on a show, but it's very important for us because we're able to conduct due diligence, quality control on our cases for our clients, make sure everything's correct before it is filed to USCIS. Mostly the reason to prevent a request for evidence, especially now with what you're saying, Ariana, that most likely there will be interviews for most cases, especially marriage cases, that, in the past, many people said, oh, no big deal. Not only can they think they can file themselves, which some people can, but if you want the most peace of mind from start to finish, of course, contact an immigration law firm. We're just one of many. Okay. Also, we just want to make sure you find an immigration attorney that you are most comfortable with. We're different than most law firms. If you're like, hey, I see you're in Houston, John, or green card guys mostly, but I need an attorney in person in San Francisco, New York, wherever it is, contact us. We have a huge network of attorneys that we know. It's most important that you feel comfortable and have an attorney by your side. Now, with our team, not only do we attend the interview with you, which is one of our service levels at the max level, we always prepare you for the interview. it sounds strange to say that out loud, right, Ariana?
Yeah.
Because we've heard some people, like, when they already had an interview, maybe they had denial or RFE after the interview. And we asked, well, I see you have an attorney. Were you prepped for the interview at least? Not that we assume anything negative, but we just want to check in. And some of them say no, they weren't prepped. So it's very, very concerning for the profession. And so please know, if your case is supposed to have an interview or you have one scheduled, might want to check in with your law firm, your attorney, to see if you can get prepped for it, because that should be included in your service.
So another one we wanted to talk about, which is one that as a firm we do very often, is they want to basically eliminate U visas and T visas. U visas, for those that don't know, is for victims of crimes here in the United States, and T visas are for victims of trafficking here in the United States. So both of those are very useful. There's some of the most sort of versatile visas that exist. A lot of things can be forgiven through the waivers for these visas, so they're critical. It turns a really terrible situation into something that can be helpful for someone, and they're wanting to eliminate them or at least bring them down as much as possible. So what they're talking about is only a very select few people will get these visas for like the most heinous crimes. So only people who have suffered immensely and have very serious crimes involved with their U visa are going to be eligible, whereas now a lot of people who have been victims of crimes that they maybe consider smaller or lower are still eligible. So again, if that's something that you've been the victim of a crime, it's really important to look into your options now, because they just may not be available in the next couple of years.
All right, thanks for bringing that up, because I mean there is already a limited list. It seems like a long list. These are all very serious in our opinion already to begin with. But there is a kind of a catch-all phrase, but it's what they say is other related crimes to those serious crimes. So one thought is, like, if it was on the list, for example, is rape. So related crime, in my opinion, is attempted rape that we've had come across our desk as well. So please contact us or any immigration law firm, especially if you're concerned about reporting to law enforcement. And so we can provide some best practices on that, how to approach police department, whatnot. Make sure you feel comfortable, because it is important to obtain a U visa, for example, is to report it to a law enforcement agency so that they can sign a U visa certification form. And the longer you wait, Ariana, we've seen this time and time again. People contact us and ask us to obtain the certification form, and we'll try. We're happy to try, but some people have waited almost too long, maybe more than a year. Some people 4 years. And every police department, law enforcement, sheriff department is different, have different policies. But the closer in time that you file a report within the incident, the best to get the certification form.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fresh in their mind. They're going through the investigation. They want you to cooperate, so it's definitely the best time to act and to try to get that from them.
I'm looking at this list, Ariana, and with the tone, the rhetoric from this incoming Trump administration, term two, I see this one of rape and sexual assault. I just hope, in domestic violence, I just hope they don't try to maneuver and somehow change the definition of it and add some more restrictions on it, preventing someone to apply or even being approved to get or obtain a prima facie letter, because it's already difficult. As I mentioned, we talked about with the law enforcement agency just to sign a form, and we prepare the form. All they have to do is review the file and sign. That's all they have to do. And some agencies get confused. Law enforcement agencies have gotten confused and think them signing it somehow gives the legal status, which of course it doesn't. That's just one minor step of the way, minor yet important. We think along this laundry list is very all important, but y'all, this is the first four that we thought is important to share with y'all. And so this is before President Trump takes office and takes the oath on January 20th. Anything else you want to share for now? I know we'll record another one after this.
Yeah, I think it's just they have a lot of power. The administration has a lot of power to review applications, to review evidence, to change language, do all of these things, even if they're not able to pass any new laws. And so I would say, if you, like I said, over and over, if you have a path, if you have something that you want us to look at, want us to take a look and see if you're eligible, this is a great time to do it.
Thanks for mentioning it, Ariana. And y'all, we have the links, of course, how to contact us down below, because people always ask us how to do that. Check that out. There's several different options. Option 1 in the link is to schedule a pre-qualified session. And then option 2, which option 1 is to speak with a non-attorney, so you can learn more about a law firm if you're interested in our services. Now, option 2 is to speak with one of our premier associates, such as Ariana here on the show, who can answer your legal questions. So if you absolutely know that you already have a legal question, go ahead and schedule, pick option number 2, because we want to make sure you select the right meeting. All right, y'all. Well, on that note, thank you, Ariana, and we'll be happy to bring it back again.
Of course. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.